In May 2026, U.S. President Donald Trump arrived in Beijing for his first state visit to China in nearly a decade. The public goal for the world's two largest economies was a stabilization of relations, a high-stakes effort to prevent their rivalry from spiraling further out of control. The American delegation arrived with a heavy-hitting corporate entourage, including Apple's Tim Cook and Tesla's Elon Musk, who participated in separate meetings with Chinese leadership to reinforce the appearance of a commercial reset. On the surface, the trip yielded immediate results. NVIDIA received clearance to sell its H200 chips to major Chinese firms, and the president announced a commitment from China to purchase 200 Boeing aircraft. For a casual observer, these headlines presented a picture of returning economic certainty and a world order finding its footing again. However, that certainty is thin. China has not officially confirmed the Boeing order, and the president himself described the deal to reporters as sort of like a statement. Beyond the announcements, the summit left the most difficult structural issues untouched. There was no formal agreement on Taiwan, and no detailed written account of trade commitments. Critically, there was no breakthrough on the Strait of Hormuz, where ongoing tensions continue to disrupt global oil flows and the crude imports that fuel the Chinese economy. While global media focuses on the theater of a superpower handshake, the practical future of trade is being decided by nations that can no longer afford to wait on the margins of that uncertainty. To see a different model of cooperation, we have to look back to February 2026, when South African and Chinese officials met for a quiet bilateral session. They formalized the Framework Agreement on Economic Partnership for Shared Prosperity. This deal provides South African agricultural and mineral exports with zero-tariff access to the Chinese market. The agreement moves beyond simple trade. It establishes long-term cooperation in mining, renewable energy, and technology, weaving South Africa's industrial base into China's supply chains. A framework built on permanent market access and shared industrial goals offers a level of predictability that a summit defined by unverified jet orders cannot provide. Pretoria's pivot was a response to a loss of trade reliability with the United States, following a series of tariff escalations that left South African exporters exposed. This chart shows how quickly the trade map is redrawing. In the first quarter of 2026, Africa became China's fastest-growing export market, surging 32%. This deepening reliance on Beijing makes the risk of a G2 dynamic an urgent concern for middle powers. Analysts from the Institute of Development Studies warn of a scenario where Washington and Beijing negotiate global trade rules between themselves, excluding everyone else. In that environment, traditional institutions like the World Trade Organization lose their relevance, as the rules of the road are set by a duopoly rather than a global consensus. To prevent being sidelined, nations like South Africa are building their own parallel economic architectures, securing direct commitments from partners who are demonstrably deepening their presence on the continent. The inconclusive results of the May summit in Beijing confirm the calculation South Africa made 3 months earlier. A national economy cannot depend on the thin hope that a fragile truce between superpowers will hold for the long term. By securing direct, verified structural commitments in February, South Africa has positioned its commodity and agricultural exports in a growth market, while others remain waiting for a resolution that may never come. The global trade landscape is shifting away from a reliance on the U.S. market as its primary anchor. We are seeing a rapid alignment of emerging markets through multilateral groups like BRICS, creating new networks operating independently of Washington's trade policy. The central question now is not whether South Africa's strategy is effective, but how quickly the rest of the African continent will move to adopt it.